someone who really feels special, because if it weren't because of the doctors and the medical people in this room and around the world, I would not be here. So my gratitude to each of you. And also, of course, to you, Dr. Artur, and the generosity of the Myeloma Treatment Foundation. So cancer, we know, knows no geographic boundaries. And that's why the physicians and medical teams and scientists who devote their lives to their patients reach across borders and oceans to share information and to learn from each other. Your collaboration and your cooperation improve your patients' lives and improves our health. And in this way, we all become an extended and international family. 2 years ago this month, my oncologist, Dr. Stephen Trion of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, was invited here by you. And shortly thereafter, you, Dr. Artur, traveled to Boston, where you lectured at Dana-Farber and at Harvard University. Each one of you crossed an ocean to share information and to learn from each other. And I know that this is what goes on with really every single person in this room, to the benefit of all of us, and I know to the growing education, ability, and passions of each of you. Now today, in this amazing historic city, well, actually there's a very amazing historic city on the top, and then a kind of baby city of Boston underneath, much newer, much younger city. We each are forming a bridge from sickness back to health. I believe that medicine, like art, is very much a creative process. And together, we're all working to find a cure for cancer. Receiving a cancer diagnosis is shattering. It's shattering news to the patient, it's shattering news to the family, and it's shattering news to all of our friends. So very briefly, I'll tell you my story. In February of 2005, I learned that I had Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia. I was told that it was defined by being rare and by being incurable. And because it's rare, it was also called an orphan disease. So I felt not only isolated, I felt really doomed. And I realized that what I needed to do was to find an oncologist who would look at me first as a person and then next as a patient. And he also needed to be a specialist in this rare disease. That oncologist is Dr. Stephen Trion. My mother, who was an obstetrician and gynecologist, gave me only one piece of advice before I had to start treatment, and her advice was, trust your doctor. Now, some of you might be familiar with the 10 Commandments for patients and the 10 Commandments for physicians that you, Dr. Skokniecki, have written that's part of the philosophy of the Myeloma Treatment Foundation. Commandment number 1 for patients is trust your doctor. And we do. 6 weeks after my diagnosis, I was really lost. I mean, I knew my life was finished. But 6 weeks after my diagnosis, I was very, very lucky to meet 2 people who were very knowledgeable about cancer. They told me about experimental treatments, and they shined a different light on my situation. Maybe, it occurred to me, my husband and I could kind of take charge of this situation and run it as though it were, say, an architecture project. And then a very close friend of mine said to me, when you're drowning in quicksand, reach for a different branch. Well, if a person is facing cancer treatment, what could a different branch possibly be? I decided that I'd try to attack the cancer really hard right away, because I was never going to be stronger than I was right now before I had any cancer treatment. And if possible, I decided I'd try to enroll in a clinical trial. I thought that I would become a lab rat in the best sense of the term, because if the experimental drug worked, I'd be better and medical science would learn. And even if I didn't get better, medical science, my doctor and his team would still learn from my case and be able to advance treatment and care for other patients. So it felt like that would be a win-win situation. So 1 decade ago this month, my disease had become life-threatening, and treatment had to start. At the time, Dr. Trion had 4 clinical trials in process, but my disease profile qualified me for only 1 of them. We had exhaustive conversations about the potential risks and the potential benefits of this trial, and I decided to enroll in a trial that had a duration of 12 weeks with the monoclonal antibody alemtuzumab. You all know that any cancer treatment is brutal, and alemtuzumab is not an exception. Before, during, and after the 12 weeks of treatment, boundless support from my family, my friends, my doctor, and my medical team, as well as their meticulous, compassionate care, whether I was in the clinic or whether I was not, sustained me. And we obtained a great result. By April of 2006, the disease was gone. And even better, there were no residual toxins in my body. Even though it took 2.5 years, my complete immune system came back, and it came back healthy. It came back well, and it functions the way a normal, healthy immune system should. So with this great good fortune to be cancer-free, this question came to my mind, and the question was, why am I still here? And the answer came right away: write a book and try to have my experience be useful to other people. So the result is 12 weeks. Hope was a key component of my experience. I held a vision of being cancer-free. I meditated with that vision in mind when I was home. I meditated with that vision while I was receiving the drug in the infusion room. And at the time, my father was 90, and what he said to me is, the mind influences the chemistry of the body. And I have no doubt that that's absolutely true. For me, and I believe for every patient, people are the richest source of hope. At home, my family and friends believed in me. And at Dana-Farber, my doctor and his team watched over me even as they watched the disease retreat. In the infusion room, I learned that if anybody experiences success, everybody experiences hope. Now, people talk about courage, and as I learn more about the physicians and medical teams who care for us, and as I meet new amazing physicians and medical teams, I appreciate a special support that you give to us, and that comes in the form of encouragement. Now, I want to go back for a minute to this idea that we become an extended international family. 2 summers ago, my cousin Harry called me up, and he was a wreck. He just learned that he had myeloma, and he's a medical man himself. He's an oral surgeon, so he had studied the disease. He understood that his situation looked pretty bleak. He felt really lousy, and he knew he was in trouble. A month later, I joined Harry and his wife, Darlene, for a visit with you, Dr. Ken Anderson. And what my cousin told you was a pretty good profile of his situation. And he also said to you, I'm going to sell my dental practice. I don't have a lot of time left. I want to just go home and hang out with my family. Dr. Anderson's response was, not so fast. And Dr. Anderson went on to say that he would make a prediction. Your prediction was that by spring, 6 or 8 months later, my cousin's energy would come back and he would be eager to get back to the office. It was a very rough winter. Harry underwent intense treatment, including stem cell transplantation. As his oncologist predicted, by spring he felt like a new man. And today, my cousin enjoys a full life and works hard to improve the health of his own patients. Now, occasionally, he might run into a little bit of trouble, and he knows that his doctor is there. He knows he can touch base with you, and things improve again. Now, Dr. Artur, Dr. Castillo, Dr. Skolnicki, I don't know everybody's names, Dr. Vézolé, my new friends, Angela, Michelle, and so many of you that I do hope to meet today. You care for us, you take care of us, you give us encouragement, you give us hope, you embody to us life and health and hope, and that is beyond any value that I can put into words. And it's pretty fantastic that 12 Weeks now has a home here in Poland, which is where my ancestry comes from. I want to go back just for a moment to this idea that medicine is a creative process. I know that part of what drives you is curiosity. A lot of what drives physicians is compassion. I want to mention something that kind of helped me through my meditations, and that's the expression that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So looking not just as, looking at something like myeloma, what's beneath the surface? What's the environment that enables this disease to flourish? Looking, to use a trite expression, outside the box, thinking in unconventional ways, which I know each of you does, advances the thinking, advances the science, advances the medicine, and advances the health for everyone. I feel just incredibly honored to be part of this total support system, and incredibly grateful for your commitment, which I know is absolutely tireless, to work for the health of all of us. And you really do bring hope and health to us all. Thank you so much.